guess.
All
right,
good?
Yeah, just maybe to start off why we're here today.
Well, yesterday, being the 16th of March, we had a report from an individual who's walking their dog in this area around noon hour that they found some human remains. As a result of that report, you see the activities behind you. It started yesterday afternoon, and we're right now in the process of searching for evidence to give us some understanding and some clarity why that individual is where they are right now.
Do we have a kind of some clue of who this person is? Is it a male? How old they are?
Well, right now the investigation really is in its infancy stages. We're doing our best to gather evidence as we're going along. I am not at a position right now where I can disclose the gender of the individual. We're really looking towards tomorrow where there will be an examination at the Toronto Forensic Center, and that we're hoping to give us some more insights and clarity into why this individual is where they are.
Can we make an estimation on the age of the woman?
At this time, I'm not going to.
Last time when I was speaking with Peter Leon, he said he wasn't able to tell if it was bones or flesh. Are you able to determine that now?
Not at this time. That will, those type of details may come out as this investigation goes on. I really think it's important as an agency to be as clear, as open as we can be, but we also have to ensure that any sort of reasonings or evidence that might have a bearing on the condition of those remains be held until we can determine the value of it.
Do you know if you heard from any, concerning the fact where we are located, there's a lot of police jurisdictions, particularly near Barrie, Aurelia, OPP, down York region. Have you heard from those police organizations whether or not this could be related to a missing persons or case?
I haven't as of yet, and I haven't received any of those informations.
Do we have any indication of clues at the scene whether or not that there was foul play suspected?
At this time, as you can see, we've got our criminal investigation branch here, our crime unit here. So whenever we find any individual, in this case we're calling human remains, we're going to cross off all the T's and dot the I's before we make a decision whether or not something is not as it may seem. So a clear answer to your question is we're too new into this to determine what the causes are, and we're hoping tomorrow we'll get some insight into it.
Do you know how many officers are in the woods scouring for evidence with the K9 unit as well, I believe?
Yes, we have our K9 unit. We do have members from the emergency response team here. Exact numbers, I'm not sure on exact numbers, but I would say they're over 10 into 12, maybe 13.
Last night when I was here, obviously the road wasn't closed. It was, officers were kind of just searching up the trail. Now the road's closed. Can you talk about the reasoning behind that and why the search is kind of broadened from that area where it was found?
Well, really, for your first question, it's twofold. One, because of the resources that we're going to need, we're taking up a lot of the traveled section of the road. And as you can see, the topography of the road itself, it doesn't allow for a lot of shoulder use. We decided that if we shut down a portion of the road, it would be safer for traffic flow as a whole and for our ability to investigate this. Now, to your second question with regards to how it's evolving, that takes on the inspector that's in charge, also on how our emergency response teams, what they find, and how it will evolve. And that takes time, because as you move and you search an area, you might find something that would guide you to another area. And as we spoke before, it's not uncommon for us, because of the condition of the bush right now, to revisit a scene a couple days later, a week later, just because that environmental factor has changed and allows us to do not necessarily a better job, but to revisit what we've already done.
And just kind of speaking about that, how were the remains found? Were they underneath? You know, did it seem like they were buried? Were they visible? That was a question that I wasn't able to ask yesterday, so I want to ask you today.
No, I don't have that information on how they were found. All I can release right now was an individual was walking their dog and they located them. In what state? No, I don't have clarity on that.
Do you know if the dog located them or if the human did?
No, good question. I don't.
Last one for me. I think it was last year, there are people out here, they're doing a search for Nicole Moran in the Springwater area. Is this, I don't know, has that name, you know, been mentioned during this search? And
Just by you. Yeah. No. To clarify that, I'm really at not a position right now in this investigation to speculate on the identity of the individual that we found the remains of.
Thank you.